What's up? I'm Brandon, and today I'm going to be talking about Jeepers Creepers. And Jeepers Creepers is a 2001 horror film directed by Victor Salva, and I honestly consider it probably the most important movie I've ever seen in my entire life. Really, it's not an exaggeration. If I haven't seen this movie when I was probably 6 or 7 years old, then I wouldn't want to know how my life would be like today. So let's get right into it. Okay, before I get into how this film impacted me whenever I was younger, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about the plot a little bit. So this film stars Jonathan Breck, Justin Long, and Gina Phillips, and is the story of a brother and sister, Trish and Derry, and they're coming back from college, and I believe it's spring break, and they're on the way back to their parents' house. All I can say is, on their way back, they're going to run into a little bit of trouble. So I first saw this film around 2006 or 2007, and by that time I was probably only 5 or 6 years old, and my goodness, it was pretty traumatic whenever I first saw it, but it was just so enticing and so intriguing. Like, your eyes couldn't leave the screen the first time you see it, because it's so unlike any other horror movies at that time. Because at the time, there was I Know What You Did Last Summer, there were the Scream films, like a lot of serial killer based films, and this was a monster movie. It was different. Like, a lot of people don't really give it credit. It was very evolutionary for the time, because there was monster movies throughout the 80s, even farther back then, obviously, the 60s, the 50s, there was the Draculas, the Frankensteins, the Wolfman, and in the 80s, like I said, there was The Thing, there was, all sorts of these movies, and then they kind of just hit a dead end in the 90s, and then in the late 90s, of course, 2000, they filmed this, released in 2001, it was just boom, just like a shot to the heart. People still like monster movies, and this has to be one of the best monster movies of all time, in my humble opinion. Okay, so the score of this movie is incredible. Bennett Salve, I believe his name is, absolutely deserves, a lot of recognition, because without the score, whenever Derry finds the bodies down in that pipe, during the chase with the truck, both chases, my goodness, it just has you on the end of your seat. It is absolutely phenomenal. I feel like it doesn't get enough recognition. And seriously, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just give it a listen. Give a few tracks a listen, and you will just feel as if you're about to go into a chase. You always feel on edge, and whenever it's not the booming loud score, it is eerie, and you can just feel as if there's something bad about to happen to you. I can talk about the score all day, because it is absolutely amazing, and if you haven't listened to it, I really recommend it. It is amazing. Although I do consider this one of my favorite movies of all time, there are definitely negatives about it, and I'm not shy about addressing them. So one of the negatives I find is after the second half, that's where I believe, the story takes a little bit of a dip. I don't believe it is bad in the slightest, at best it's good, because then they reveal the creeper is obviously not man. I believe once they left the diner, that's where it kind of started to slope, a little bit. Because that first half was incredible. You didn't know if this was a monster, a serial killer, or anything, you were just enticed, you didn't know what it could be. One of the things I dislike the most about the second half is after the cat lady's house, whenever Gina Phillips and Justin Long come out, they're getting back in the car, they're about to head out, because cat lady, I don't think she made it. So they're freaked out, rightfully so, and then the creeper lands on top of their car, and they back up, and he does a backflip off the car. okay, impressive. You know, you could be an acrobatist, but I don't want to see a monster that can do like impressive, like pretty backflips. You know what I mean? And then she tries to ram him. He jumps over the car, backs up. He jumps over the car. Like that just like took so much out. Like, why are you showing so much of this? And he had some of the stunt makeup. Like, you can tell this wasn't like the full-on creeper get up. It was a little bit of a downgrade for the stunts, obviously, and that's fine, but it was just kind of cheesy, very cheesy actually. And I'm about to get into something else that's cheesy in my opinion. So something else that I find cheesy, I can't really put the filmmakers at fault because it was 2001 and CGI wasn't perfected per se, but whenever the wing shoots out of the creeper after he was hit, not convincing, not really convincing. And that goes for the end as well, whenever he was about to take a dairy out from the police station. But I can't really put the fault at that, because it was back in the day. But nonetheless, still pretty cheesy. And honestly, I can consider that to be most of my problems with this film. There's obviously still more negatives, but I wouldn't really consider that, to really downgrade the film. If you haven't seen this film in a while, do yourself a favor and watch it, because the performances at times can be a little bit over the top. But Justin Long, whenever he's talking to the cop and he says when he was down in that pipe, it was like a psycho version of the 16th Chapel, that just is incredible, because that's like, it requires such imagery, you have to think about that. That's just so disturbing. And Gina Phillips, whenever she's talking to the creeper about letting go dairy, that's just so gut-wrenching, like a bit predictable, but it's gut-wrenching because you can feel the emotion, because Justin Long and Gina Phillips, they had a lot of chemistry, and she really had to put her emotions in that. And I just find it to be really like beautiful, the performances, because you really feel as if you're connecting with these two characters. You just are dropped into their lives, and you just have to bear with them and hope and pray that they'll be okay. I'll quickly get off this topic, but I just wanted to mention, because I would kind of hate myself if I didn't bring it up, one last performance I want to talk about is Jonathan Breck as the creeper, obviously. And just all around perfect performance. Whenever the camera was just tracking him out the window of Trisha's car, and he was just standing there after he dumped the body down the pipe, he was just standing there looking, just his eyes following the car. That's incredible acting. I'm so glad he's in the second one, and I'm glad he's reprising his role for the third, because honestly, it's like Robert Englund with Freddy. It's like Kane Hodder with Jason. That is his role, and I don't think I could ever see anyone else playing it, because he just delivers such personality without even speaking, and I just find that very admirable. This movie has a lot of significance to me because it is one of the first movies I've seen, and it's the first scary movie that I've actually and truly loved. It just always scared me as a kid. One of the most iconic things to me was the crows. Just hearing those crow calls, it was just so scary and eerie. And every time I would go to bed at night, almost every time, I would look off into the corner of my room, and where it's black and pitch dark, you can't see anything, I would just picture him just walking out with his hat and his trench coat. It's just so scary. But now as I'm older and in high school, I can just look back and watch it now and find the subtle funniness in it, in a way, like how Freddy was, not over the top like Freddy is in some films, but you can see the subtle funniness. Oh my gosh, whenever he's got the head of the cop and he's biting the tongue out of the cop's head, it says in the back on the billboard, "Tastes so darn good," and that's what Victor Salva was trying to convey the whole time. It is not to be taken completely serious. It's campfire tale, it's folklore. You're just supposed to add your little twist on it. It's supposed to be fun. You don't have to take it completely serious, and if you do that, then that's where you're lost as an audience member. It's not supposed to be this serious think piece. It's supposed to be fun, like an actual film you can just watch start to finish and be like, wow, that was an experience. I'm so glad I gave my time of the day to watch that, because honestly it is worth the time of the day. I've watched this film countless times, and I'm so happy because I got the special edition not too long ago, and in it was having a new audio commentary with Justin Long, Gina Phillips, and Victor Salva. And Victor Salva was talking about how a lot of this inspiration for this film came from Steven Spielberg and, you know, older monster movies like The Creature from the Black Lagoon. And he was talking about how he's seen Jaws at least over a dozen times in his theater when he was younger. And of course, you know, you can obviously tell the Steven Spielberg inspirations with the whole first half, which is a lot like Duel. And he even said that while he was filming, he's like, oh my goodness, I'm making Duel. And I just find that so great, because that's like what all filmmakers need to know. You just take what you've grown up with and what inspires you, and you turn your little twist on it. Like, because of course the whole film's not a Duel copy. It's got Duel, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Alfred Hitchcock inspiration in it. Even he talked about it. It's just, it's amazing. It's not a bloody and gory movie. It in the first half, like, I believe probably 85% of the movie is just pure suspense, and that's what is a really big downgrade for me in the second. Not that much suspense, but with the music and everything else, it is just so suspenseful, and that's what I love so much about it. It's not just a gore fest, it's a legitimate horror movie. Okay, so we're coming towards the end of this video, and I just am so it's just making me think, because the day I upload this is the 16th anniversary of this film, and I just can't believe it, because my goodness, I've grown up with this. It's been like a friend of mine, as weird as that sounds. You know, I just watch it, it's so great. I'm just so happy that I've grown up with this, and I'm really grateful that I was first shown it when I was a child, and I can just grow with it as the film grew into what it became today. And now we're going to see, hopefully, a release of the third one soon. So that's the end of the video. I would like to thank anyone that's made it this far, and this was basically just a love letter to Jeepers Creepers, because I love it and I love the franchise, and I just wanted to really convey everything that I was thinking about, you know, just all that I've really like conjured up in my mind since the first time I saw it. That's just a tip of the iceberg of my opinions. I have a few more, but I don't want this to be like a 30-minute long video. So thank you for anyone that's watching, and I appreciate it, and yeah, I guess that's it. So thank you guys, appreciate it.
Children, have you ever met the bogeyman before? No, of course you haven't, for you're much too good, I'm sure. Don't you be afraid of him if he should visit you. He's a great big coward, so I'll tell you what to do. Hush, 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 here comes the bogeyman. Don't let him come too close to you, he'll catch you if he can. Just